condo people, and they didn't even show up.
Oh no, that's a bummer. But you know who showed up is you and myself, and we are here. I'm Steve Metrics. That's your boy.
DJ Triggs.
And together we are No Debate Sports, and we are at the last weekend of July, DJ Triggs, and fantasy season's right around the corner, bud.
That is true. I mean, I am. I don't know if I'm prepared, but I'm
Okay.
somewhat prepared.
Okay. Well, if you're somewhat prepared, today we are covering your division, good sir, as well as the NFC West. So how
That's
about you
true.
lead it off with your team, DJ Triggs? How and what are you looking at for the Green Bay Packers?
Oh no, I don't think I want to do this yet. I'm
Oh
afraid.
no!
I'm
Oh
afraid.
no!
The
Uh-oh.
well, no, I was afraid for like I don't know, maybe like a week and a half,
Okay.
maybe.
All right.
Because Jordan Love just got that new contract, so
Sure.
that was pretty stupendous.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd
Just
say it's good.
happening the other day. Um,
Absolutely.
that was scary. I'm not gonna lie. When he started holding in, I guess
Right.
that. But
That's
I
nothing
mean,
you want to
big
see.
news. No, not at all.
No.
Especially when he's like, "Yep, I'm not practicing."
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. And then
But
you
like
don't want to have
Tua
a
was
Brandon Ayuk
practicing,
on your hand.
yeah, or a CD Lamb
Yep.
or a Dak Prescott, knowing he's there but not going to get paid yet,
Yep.
or I don't know.
Yep.
Then I was thinking maybe he wants the most money ever. That was scary. Thinking like 60 some million, but that didn't happen. So I'm kind of okay with it now.
Yeah.
But besides that, getting what 4 years, 220 million, tied with Burrow and uh, wow, why am I
Oh,
blanking
it's
on his
it's
name?
everyone, man. There's plenty of guys that are all at this amount. I mean, there's
But
Jalen
what's that?
Hurts, there's Burrow, there's Tua
Yeah,
Tagovailoa. Gosh, man, there is like
boom.
everybody. Aaron
Who's
Rodgers is up there too.
yeah. I mean, Tua's a little less though. But yeah, I don't know. The Packers did a lot of stuff in fantasy world. All right, so if we're talking fantasy, Josh Jacobs, because that's what we do. We're
Yeah,
all about the fantasy. Uh,
absolutely.
Josh Jacobs coming in and doing his part is going to be big. Um, I mean, if as long as he's healthy, Aaron Jones was usually like a top 10 back, top 20 back. So
Yes.
Josh Jacobs definitely led the league in rushing at one point. Um,
Yeah.
and the fact that, no offense to your Raiders, but the fact that he has a quarterback with a bunch of weapons, you
Yeah.
can't stack the box against him.
Mm-mm.
So he's going to be fighting like pretty easy packages. The Packers have one of the best offensive lines in football. Two or
Yes.
three possible All Pro to Pro Bowl type players, and then they just used a first round pick on another one. So with Jordan Morgan, like he's going to have a pretty easy way to go.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
yeah, and I mean you could talk more about Josh Jacobs than I can, but
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I mean, there's definitely. I mean, I have him in my fantasy sites as well. And the thing that I see with him with Green Bay is that when it comes to a running back in fantasy, they need to both run the ball well and receive the ball well. In today's NFL, that's just how it works. And the thing that I really like about his aspect on Green Bay, even more than actually with him on the Raiders, is because I understand how that offense works. And there's a lot of offenses that do something like that too, where you get to the end zone and you have a tailback and you have a guy who can kind of do some shifty stuff. Prime example, Kansas City. So, like, yes, Isaiah Pacheco is an angry runner. He does what he does. But then all of a sudden, J-Mac comes out of the backfield or Clyde Edwards-Helaire comes out of the backfield. And then, boom, you lose your touch to like a guy like Isaiah Pacheco or a guy like Josh Jacobs. So what I like here is Josh Jacobs with the Packers is not going to get hawked on that goal line touch. If they want to plow it in with him, or if they want to do some kind of wheel route with him to catch a pass in the end zone, he is primed and perfect for it. And if it's not going to him, then it's going to a receiver, it's going to a tight end, and that's fine as well. Like that's how it works. So to see that Josh Jacobs will get that volume in the end zone is something that I really, really like. I know that he's going to be the guy getting it. He is the primary back. There is no Aaron Jones. It is all on him. And like you said, lighter packages. I still view Josh Jacobs as definitely a top 5 back in the NFL. And for an offense that is high octane as Green Bay, I think this guy is clearly the best running back in the NFC North. And I know there's some guys out there on a team that wears Honolulu blue, but those guys are going to split it up a bit. Josh Jacobs is not splitting with nobody. That's just how he's going to run.
Right. And I mean, Packer fans kind of noticed that last year where AJ Dillon was kind of the workhorse back for a while. And you know how much I dislike AJ Dillon being a workhorse back. I complained about him like every week. But
totally,
between he and Aaron Jones, they ran for 1,200 yards, 4 yards a carry, mostly Aaron Jones, and 4 touchdowns. Like,
bingo.
They had 99 yards per game combined.
Wow.
Now
that's solid.
I mean, yeah, to a certain extent, but neither of them hit. So Aaron Jones led the team with 656 yards, and like I'm just thinking like, okay, well,
and he missed a lot of games too.
Yeah, and that's true. Josh Jacobs ran for 805 yards and only 3 touchdowns, but he only averaged 3.5 yards a carry. Like he was averaging AJ Dillon numbers. And we know for a fact that, he was getting stacked boxes. AJ Dillon was averaging 3.4 yards a carry. Well, Aaron Jones was averaging 4.6. So clearly it was AJ Dillon's problem. So if he's able to get that bumped up from 3.5 to, even 4.2, 4.3, like he's going to hit 1,000 yards easily.
Absolutely.
The Packers are going to light it up on the scoreboard. They were one of the top, or I won't say top, but they were middle of the pack passing team. So they're going to give you the numbers that you're looking for. They're going to score points. They're going to have, like you said, there's going to be red zone targets. Like he's going to have his way. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I can tell you too, like when you see a drive develop and it gets to the goal line and we gave it to Josh Jacobs, I'm telling you, man, he gets in. He just drives in. Like him and Isaiah Pacheco, there is something about those guys when they get to the goal line and they want to give the ball to them to get into pay dirt, they will get through. They just have this extra gear about them. They generate that torque and they find their way in. So I think Josh Jacobs is awesome for that. The other thing too that I like now with really, in all honesty, converting AJ Dillon to a fullback is that offense, like we ran with the Raiders, can now be replicated with Green Bay because he's going to tell Matt LaFleur what he likes, what packages he likes when he gets to the goal line, what he likes in short and distance kind of plays. So now if you use AJ Dillon as if he is Jakob Johnson for the Raiders, now you still have that fullback carryover. And now AJ Dillon can just be a workhorse and just pick up an inside linebacker that's trying to double up in the hole. And now Jacobs has a clear path to get into the end zone. And I think it's going to work out really, really well. I see him projected for 10 touchdowns total on Sleeper. And I do think that's actually a little bit low. I just think the volume is there. I mean, we could see a more resurgence of the running back that was drafted from Southern Cal at some point. But I just think that's going to be a while. And especially late in the season, I think that's where we could see that happen to save the legs of Jacobs. But I think early on, I think this guy is just going to be a monster. And right now, he is combined for just under 1,300 yards. I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to be an absolute monster. And even his receiving yards are projected for around 255. I think he could absolutely clear that.
Oh, easily. I mean, like, and I'm just using Dillon and Jones combined. They had about 450 yards between the two of them, receiving wise. And it's like they didn't score very much. I also don't see Jaden Reed getting another 8 touchdowns and Romeo Doubs. They had 180 targets in the wide receiver game. So, like, I know they're going to pass it probably a little bit more, but like, even if you just get the mean, the average of, you know, some of these yards between Dillon and Jones, like Josh Jacobs is going to go off. Like,
he is.
1,300 yards sounds like a pretty solid number, but I could see him going for 1,500. I mean, 1,000 rushing, maybe 1,100 rushing and 400 receiving.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think this guy is just an absolute monster. 2 years ago, he was the best overall running back in all of football, even better than Christian McCaffrey doing what he did with San Francisco. So it's really impressive seeing what Jacobs can do. And I think Green Bay, with this offense, I think this is the best he will probably be to date in his career. And with that being said, I think the only other Packer that I really feel comfortable going with in fantasy, and this is no shot to any of them, but it's just the way the offense exploded. I think the only other fantasy player that I would really want in terms of offense would be Jordan Love. I think he is so explosive. What he did last season in the second half, he was basically the best quarterback in the NFL for that stretch. I just think he is super high octane. There's still a little bit of uncertainty of knowing exactly what we're going to get. Is he going to be more refined? Is he going to be more Josh Allen recklessness? He could. But that's where I'm at. And I really don't want any of the wide receivers or any of the tight ends. And this is no knock on them, but it's more of a credit to how good Jordan Love is that he developed 5 wide receivers and multiple tight ends. That is just insane. And he will spread the ball out. He will go to whoever the correct target is on a given route, no matter who they are. So he will spread it out to everyone. Like you said, the 8 touchdowns to Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs, it's just not really feasible with how many crazy amount of targets there are with the Green Bay Packers. So I'm with you. I really think Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs are the only 2 offensive players that I'd really want to get in terms of fantasy on the Green Bay Packers.
Right. Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft at tight end. Like, you don't know who's going to go off. I mean, literally, this I can't even make this up. They both had about 40 targets, about 30 receptions, 355 yards to 352 yards. Like, wow. They're identical. Like, and then on top of that, like, Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs. Yeah, unless you're talking to Madden football, they just released the ratings for wide receivers. Yeah. Romeo Doubs is the best, most rated Madden or highest rated Madden receiver on the Packers team. And if you asked any Packer fan or anyone that watched the games, well, Jaden Reed was the man last year, and he was a rookie.
That is kind of that one guy that if I do roll the dice on any receiver, it would be Jaden Reed, because I think he could be Deebo Samuel.
Christian Watson was the man a year ago.
Exactly.
And he's coming, like, he came back last year, but he was a little hobbled. You could tell. Now he's got a whole offseason to kind of let him loose. He's the speed guy. He's going to get over the top, big plays. But then if you ask any beat writer or any of the inside guys for Green Bay, Dontavion Wicks is going to be the man.
Yeah, he's insane.
And and they say he has like Devontae Adams type route running ability.
And he is I've heard he's the fastest wide receiver of the group as well. So there's some scary, scary stuff with that guy if you can call your shot and you can get it.
And then look at like the last couple of games, Bo Melton like went off. And he's the number 5 receiver. So like you said, they have so many weapons all over the place. Or was it Jordan Love that made all this happen? Because if you're going to go with that, he was a top 10 in yards. He was number 2 in touchdowns. Like the dude literally went off.
He did. And I kind of had my mindset for quite a while for like who I think the top 3 quarterbacks are in fantasy and just kind of the NFL in general. And I think I want to take one of them out. And ironically, I got to put an adversary of mine in there. But I think the top 3 quarterbacks, if you really, really think about it, and you really break it down and you look at like, okay, who can I count on week in, week out? I don't have to really be too concerned about injury. I know this guy has a heck of an arm, has elite running ability, and can just kind of see the field and make things happen. To me, there's only 3 guys that check off all those boxes. And the one I have to remove that I had there was Josh Allen. And we can talk about it on another day, but I'm a little concerned about the health, just kind of like the turnovers, the decision making, plus the massive change in personnel. Like I said, I think the Bills offense is going to run more like the Raiders offense this year. So that high octane ability I see from Josh Allen, I see being scaled back, and that concerns me. So if I look at the top 3, I have to put Jordan Love up there. I have to put CJ Stroud. And ironically, I got to put Patrick Mahomes. I think those 3 can do everything. I think they're so massive in how they move the ball downfield. We know those offenses are going to move. They may not be crazy long drives, but they're going to be very effective drives, high volume, high yardage, more often than not resulting in touchdowns. Those 3 guys do that. There are some other quarterbacks who have like insane, weird, crazy stuff like a Joe Burrow or an Anthony Richardson for different means if they're totally healthy. But I would rather roll the dice with those 3 guys. Justin Herbert might be one, but those 3 guys, Love, Stroud, and Mahomes, there's something really special about those 3.
Wow. Love, Stroud, and Mahomes. You know what's crazy? When you talk about fantasy football, though, the one that really makes me like it crawls under my skin, and I don't know what to think of him. And I brought him up earlier just because of his contract situation, but like Dak Prescott is another one of those set it and forget it kind of quarterbacks, I should say, where like you know what you're gonna get. He's gonna throw the ball a ton because they can't run it. I mean, they brought back Ezekiel Elliott, so who knows?
I think that's even more credit to Dak Prescott on how good he is. And also Mike McCarthy. Like, they ran that offense, if we really think about it, that offense basically ran off of nothing. Nothing. Like, it's only CeeDee Lamb and I want to say Jake Ferguson, the tight end from Wisconsin. Like, that was their entire offense. There's a little bit of Brandon Cooks, but they had no outside receiver presence. They did everything out of the slot, and their running backs stunk. They played the season without running backs, which is a credit to we know McCarthy did that in the heydays of Aaron Rodgers, so that works. But, man, just honestly a terrible offense that Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy made to become very exceptional for how very few pieces they had.
Right. Well, let's move to the next team. How about the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to Chicago, the thing I like here is obviously the slot. So like if we look at Keenan Allen, he's fantastic. We know that if we're looking at the tight ends that they play, Cole Kmet is one of those really good ones, so he's solid. The running back core I'm a little concerned with, but if I don't know, I think when I look at it, this is a team where as much as I like DJ Moore, when you shake up the quarterback again and we have all these pieces, to me, you're bringing a new quarterback into the realm and you don't really know how the offense is going to work for those targets. Which one is going to be truly Caleb Williams 1? Who's the 2? And who's the slot receiver? So I know Keenan Allen is the slot. He might be the 1. Then I know second coverage is going to DJ Moore. Third coverage, and this is where it gets really intriguing, is Rome Odunze. If I had to take any of those 3 and I didn't want to invest a lot of capital, and if I had a gut feeling of health, stability, and kind of how I feel the chemistry in this offense is going to develop, I would go with Rome Odunze.
Okay. I mean, I'm not against that. The wide receiver group, yeah, they're kind of like the Packers. They have a lot of a lot of talent,
but it's stacked. That is stacked right there.
And they're kind of, is DJ Moore going to go off? Is Keenan Allen going to go off? Is Rome Odunze going to go off?
Exactly.
Like Cole Kmet. They got Gerald Everett.
Yep.
Like, and the one big thing that I might touch, is DeAndre Swift, because just looking at his home and away splits, he's going to give you about 500 yards home, 500 yards away. He runs about 4.5 yards a carry.
Sure.
Didn't really get as many touchdowns because Jalen Hurts was kind of eating him up when he was in Philly. And so, I mean, he was, and I can't believe I'm saying this, he was the number 5 back when it comes to yardage on the ground.
Sure.
Believe it or not, this sounds weird. There's only 12 backs last year that got over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, it was a very awful running year considering how it was the year before, where running backs just crushed it. And now with what we saw last season with running backs, it's like the league almost forgot how to run the football. And that absolutely happened with a guy like DeAndre Swift, who it was just clearly evident that he was fantastic. And Philadelphia just stopped giving him the ball because they thought the tush push was the best thing since sliced bread. And DeAndre Swift is really, really cool. Like if you have a good offensive line, that guy can run circles around everyone. So I like what you say there with DeAndre Swift. He's clearly the best running back on that team as well. So there might be some power carries that go to some other guys, but he can also catch a really nice ball out of the backfield. So he's clearly the number 1 tailback on that team. But he's solid. And like, if we're looking at ADP in terms of a 10-team league, he is looking like he's probably going at the back end of a round 5, maybe an early round 6 pick. So he does carry solid value there. You don't have to spend too much, but you still have to be, noteworthy of it. So yeah, I do like the pick of DeAndre Swift in round 5 if you have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's an awesome pick, to be honest. Like, if you think about it, like I said, he was number 5 in yards last year. He was running at 4.5 yards a carry. So now that you can't stack a box against him. I mean, in Philly, that's probably why he was getting 4.5 yards a carry. But what if Caleb Williams isn't a great thrower of the football? We really don't know yet. But there's a lot of wide receiver talent that you have to put those corners on. You're going to have to put a nickel on Keenan Allen if he's in the slot, DJ Moore on the outside. And like, it could be hit or miss. Who knows if they throw the ball more, if they run the ball more. But if you're going to get him in the 6th round, like, as your back number 2 or your flex play, that's a
Yep.
steal.
I think so. I think that's the best bang for the buck. And really, like, you broke it down perfectly when it comes to those wideouts. Those wideouts are going to be hit and miss. And we are going to see some choppiness in Caleb Williams. And he's going to grow. He's going to develop. So who he likes out of the gate may not be in the middle of the season, may not be at the end of the season. And it's going to be matchup dependent. So his maturation is going to change with that receiving core. So I think I'm with you on that, that I would, again, roll with one of the best running backs on that team and avoid the wide receivers. I just think it is flat out a really big gamble if you go with any of those 3 wideouts.
Right. Agreed. Where are you at with the Detroit Lions?
So Detroit is pretty wild. I do like this offense quite a bit. The big thing that I like with Detroit is I believe they play all but 2 or 3 games indoors. So, like, this is where, like, when it comes to winning a division, that Detroit is going to bring a significant volume to that, and especially that volume on offense. So the craziest thing here, that if we look at Detroit, is they have 3 players that are clearly going in the top 2 rounds. And they could all go in round 1, potentially, with who you draft with. So that is Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta. This team to me is different because I actually dislike both running backs on Detroit because they will split. They are both very efficient. They both do their things. We saw that David Montgomery carried over his ability, strong ability, because he was playing behind a not so good offensive line in Chicago, and then got a good offensive line in Detroit and showed it, and did not give that job to Jahmyr Gibbs. As hyped up as Jahmyr is, and he is a really good running tailback, just like DeAndre Swift, I just think you're really rolling the dice with too many of them. So if I have anything on this team, I really like the wideouts and Sam Laporta, and possibly doubling down on Jared Goff. But I think I would play with a different quarterback besides Goff. I'm not saying it's bad, but like, the volume of this team is insane. So you might double down on it, but the receivers, the targets on Detroit are just insane.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how I feel about this, because both Gibbs and Montgomery were top 20 backs when it comes to yards. I think one had like 10 touchdowns and one had 13, something like that, which both, again, were top 10 in touchdowns. Like, I, even looking at this, I could not believe that both of them were near 1,000 yards and 10 plus touchdowns on the ground. Because in my brain, all I can remember is Jared Goff throwing it to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And it's like, they had 2 really good backs. Whoa. Now, can you see what the ADP on those 2 are?
Yeah. So if we're looking at those backs, our ADP for Jahmyr Gibbs is right around 11, and David Montgomery is 65. So we're talking about the kind of middle of round 5 in a 10-team draft for Montgomery.
Oh, I'm going Montgomery every day then. If I can get him in round 5, like, he had more yards, more carries, and more touchdowns. Yeah. Like, I'm all for it. If I can get that guy in round 5, Jahmyr Gibbs going 11 is nuts.
Yeah, I think that's more of the social media hype. I mean, I saw videos of Jahmyr Gibbs doing insane. Like, honestly, if you look at social media, obviously the 2 best running backs are Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson. Those are like the guys that just destroy social media. But for me, I really don't like. Yeah, I mean, David Montgomery makes a ton of sense. What I actually really like here is the receivers. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown is pretty solid. He is incredibly expensive, but absolutely fantastic at what he does. To me, I actually really, really like Sam Laporta. I think he can absolutely push for being the best tight end in all of football. And then even the back end, like way, way deep in a draft, in round 9 or even beyond, if you want to even really go deep. Jameson Williams is basically like Tyreek Hill. Like you can get that kind of speed. The health is a little bit questionable. He was part of a gambling situation that occurred last season as well. So his off the field conduct is questionable. But when he's on the field, man, he is insane. He did tear his ACL, I think, 2 years ago. But man, seeing him actually play is nuts. He is basically a Tyreek Hill that you can roll the dice on in round 9. And if it doesn't work, then he's gone. Then you go for someone else. So he's there, and you can also get undrafted. He might be a really, really sneaky play. I've never pulled it off, but I've also noticed one of Jared Goff's favorite targets is Khalif Raymond.
Yeah, Khalif Raymond. I mean, Reynolds also had 5 touchdowns on that team, so like he gets a lot of those passes too.
Exactly.
I'm kind of just like, hey. Amon-Ra St. Brown is what, probably a top 5 pick in ADP?
Yeah, he's 5 or 6 on average.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about Reynolds or Gibbs being 5 picks away. Like they're not even in the same like class of fantasy drafts, and it's like, yeah, I'd probably lean more towards St. Brown any day of the week.
And also, I can even tell you too, last season there were almost a handful of games last year where Sam Laporta had multiple touchdowns. I know I even had him the game that Sam Laporta had 3 touchdowns, and it was insane. I think I had a week where I had three touchdowns from Laporta, and I had 4 or 5 touchdowns from Jared Goff, all in the same game. So wow. There's some wild stuff that you can do with this team that is pretty unstoppable. And on top of that, too, their offensive coordinator, I forgot his name off the top of my head, but he actually turned down at least 1 or 2 NFL head coaching jobs because he thought he could roll it back and this team might win it all. I think his name's Ben Johnson. Detroit's coordinator stayed. So that even helps even more on top of playing all these crazy amount of games indoors. This team is really, really special.
Wow. Nice. What about the Minnesota Vikings? Where are you at with them?
Yeah. So when it comes to Minnesota, I really gotta, this is rough because like if this team was like fully healthy and kind of knew what it was going to do on offense, I think they got something. But there's just too many question marks on offense between Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, and unfortunately TJ Hawkinson that you have a lot of injury concerns and way too expensive, in my opinion. Even Aaron Jones is going like back around 4 for ADP in a 10-team league. And like TJ Hawkinson, like he should be a top 5 tight end, but he's already injured as well. And then Jordan Addison has his issues driving vehicles off the field. I think Jordan Addison is the one that I would want to go with. But again, when you have legal ramifications hanging over you, I can't touch any of these players from the Vikings. To me, this is clearly the worst team in the NFC North.
Yeah, I agree. Like we're talking about a team like them where it's, I don't know, it's almost weird to even think about, but like Kirk Cousins made this team look really good.
Yeah, he did.
Sam Darnold, I don't know if I'm supposed to believe in him, but it's not going to happen for me. I don't know. Maybe they get Mullins back in there and he starts chucking it around. But Alexander Madison, last year, he was just a barely noticeable back. I know they even brought Ty Chandler in there to run some carries. Combined, they had about 1,100 yards and only 3 touchdowns. So, like, Aaron Jones is going to have his work cut out for him. On top of that, like you said, it blew my mind, but Jefferson only played 10 games. He had 1,000 yards. So, like, if he falls, then I might scoop him up in, the early second round or somewhere in there. But someone's probably going to pay a high price on him just because they're like, oh, it's Jefferson. But you never know if he's going to be healthy. Hawkinson's kind of the same way. And like you said, Jordan Addison's the only guy where I'm like, okay, he had 10 touchdowns and 900 yards. I can probably find a space on my team for him, especially if I can get him later on. Because what is his ADP? Do you see that?
For TJ Hawkinson, we're looking at 111. So we're looking at TJ Hawkinson as basically, I would say, 10th round. Yeah.
What about Addison?
Oh, sorry. Jordan Addison, we're seeing at around 70-ish. So we're seeing basically the beginning of round 6.
Yeah, I'm okay with probably grabbing him there. Like, if I can get him as like a flex play at that option, like that's pretty solid.
I think Jordan is clearly the best. I even think he's better than Justin Jefferson. There's no injury concern with Jordan Addison, and his breakaway speed is just nuts. I haven't seen him turn on a dime like Justin Jefferson, but like you say, from the value and the injury concern, that's what kind of makes me want to not go towards Justin Jefferson. Everything I've seen out of Jordan Addison on the field, man, I love it. I think the guy is just a killer, just a monster lurking in the deep that not too many people are really keen about. And I think he's absolutely awesome. Possibly in a pinch if I have to. If he's still on the team, am I missing him, or is he not even on the team anymore? Okay. I don't know who it is at this point, but you can probably get him undrafted then. In a pinch, I would definitely think about the slot receiver on this team, because if TJ Hawkinson's banged up, if a team has really good outside corners, be ready to know that, like, hey, in a week where you got to stream someone, be ready to go for that slot receiver. Like, whether it's Mullins or Darnold, they should be able to make the reads and find that slot receiver efficiently. This is an offensive-minded head coach, so you have that. You still have Aaron Jones. But again, too, like, there's too many pieces on this team on offense that are questionable. And if the younger player doesn't develop, then this team will become very one-dimensional very quickly.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So here's the other thing, too, with this. If you have the concerns with it, you might want to be ready to go with a defense against Minnesota. So that's something that we would definitely want to think about. The other thing, too, is week 1. If you want to be real crafty about it, I might actually want the Minnesota Vikings defense. Why? Week 1, they play the Giants. That's trash.
Wow. I mean, that's no debate right there.
That's no debate. And you will get the Vikings scot-free. Nobody will draft the Minnesota Vikings. You heard it here first. If you want them, stream them week 1 against the Giants. That's how you can target who the heck. If you have to stalk the Giants offense, this is the first team you play with.
Oh, man, that's horrible. But make sure you get rid of them right away, because then they play San Francisco.
That's exactly. They will. That's exactly how you have to do it. So it'll work for you, and then whoever plays the 49ers defense is just going to clean house the next week.
They quite possibly won't win a game until – besides the Giants, they might not win a game until, like, week 9.
Oh, no.
So, okay. Minnesota plays the Giants in week 1. Okay. Then they play San Francisco, Houston, Green Bay, the Jets, Detroit, the Rams, and then Indy.
That's brutal. They might win the Jets game. That's it.
You just hate the Jets.
I do. Now I do.
I don't think they're even getting close to the Jets. They
Yeah,
might
they
win
probably
the
won't.
Rams game. That might be the one.
Oh man, it's bad.
But even in
It is
that
really
case,
bad.
it's still only 2 wins
It
out of like
is.
9.
Yikes, man. Man, that is rough. Yeah. Yeah. So on that note, we are out of this division, DJ Triggs.
Get out of there.
Let's get out of here. We are in the NFC West. What team you want to lead off with out west?
Look, okay, since we started with the worst, or we ended with the worst team this time, how about we start with the worst team and just get the Cardinals out of the way?
Okay, this is a team. As I was starting to build my Grandmaster cheat sheet, my fantasy puzzle, this is a team I have actually looked at. And there is pretty much 3 main reasons, obviously, at the top of this team's offense that I'm really looking at. So one of which is Marvin Harrison. He is being regarded as a top 10 wide receiver in all of fantasy. His ADP is basically kind of the beginning of round 2 at 15. But then Trey McBride, he was basically the second or third best tight end in all of fantasy last season. And then you have the craziness of Kyler Murray. So you really got some wild things here on offense. I mean, I have kicked around selecting both Trey McBride and Kyler Murray.
So the one I guess you could call a sleeper for me is going to be James Conner.
Okay.
The dude had 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. And I'm pretty sure he's probably getting drafted in I'm just going to guess. I'm going to go 7th round.
Yes. Yeah, he's going in round 7 of a 10-team league.
That's a steal.
Yes,
he's going to be the number 1. I don't really like their depth chart. I mean, I don't know who Trey Benson or Amari DeMarcado is.
Trey is definitely a very well regarded runner. I forgot how highly drafted this guy was. Okay. This is the Florida State running back.
Yeah.
So he's pretty good.
3rd round pick.
Yeah, third round pick at running back is pretty good.
That's fine. That's fine and dandy. James Conner's already got he's locked this up. There's no reason to not give him another 200 carries. You let him get his 1,000 yards. The dude was averaging 5 yards a carry on this team.
They have a very good offensive line. I think the Cardinals have one of the best offensive lines in all of the NFL. Their defensive line is fantastic as well. The thing that I like there that you say with James Conner, I would take Conner. If I have a spot on my bench, I would probably want to get Trey Benson there as well. If I don't get Trey Benson, it's not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, if you have to roll as James Conner, you can roll with that guy, man. That guy is a monster. He is a total workhorse. He's like a taller version of like an Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah. And remember, they were stacking the box. Dobbs was playing most of the year.
Totally, man. Totally. Like the way that James Conner fought against a stacked box really tells you how strong that guy is.
Yeah. That was easy. How about the Rams?
So the Rams are a very interesting team. I actually just heard how Puka Nacua basically got no respect in Madden. He's not even listed as like a top 20 receiver in Madden, which shows you how weird projections are going into this upcoming NFL season, considering how we even noticed last year the round 1 was such a bust in the NFL. Puka Nacua, and this is why we have to be heads up on rookie wide receivers because of how strong they can actually be out of the gate on a very high octane offensive minded team. Puka Nacua is going at the beginning of basically round 2 as pick 11 in fantasy. He is absolutely a monster.
Now, pick 11. Would you rather have him or Jahmyr
Gibbs.
It was Jahmyr Gibbs.
I would go Puka Nacua because I know he's the number one target on the Rams, and I know he's pretty much unstoppable. And I know I'm not really I know Cooper Kupp's on the team, but it sucks. But Cooper Kupp's days are coming to an end, like they did with Jordy Nelson. Oh, that's really what I see. Tutu Atwell did some really cool stuff too. Yeah, right. Tutu is a strong streamer. I've played with him a few times. I've hit and I've missed. But I do like Tutu Atwell as well. So that's there. The running back core is interesting. I like and that's Blake Blake Corum from Michigan.
You like Blake Corum? Okay,
I do. So yeah, if I have to get Blake Corum at the end of a draft, like round 12, and have both him and Kyren, and be confident that my team's going to ride and roll, I like it. The only thing is, obviously, Kyren is an all-around back, and Blake is more of just being a power back. So that's where you got to be heads up.
1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns is pretty remarkable. Now, the real question that all of Raiders Nation wants to know, are you drafting Jimmy Garoppolo? Just wondering. A bench
zero spot, chance. That guy is trash.
He could be on your IR. He's suspended, right.
But here's the other thing that's very interesting about the Rams is how far back Matthew Stafford is being drafted. If we're talking a 10-team draft, we're talking he's basically almost undrafted as quarterbacks. He is going on average in round 14. So that means in a 10-team draft, you could pull a fast one. You could draft a kicker. You could draft a defense and then draft Matt Stafford as your last pick of a 10-team draft. That is insane. I mean, I kid you not. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that are actually projected overall for at least 30 touchdowns. He is one of them. Not only that, his pass yards are projected for over 4,000. There's not too many quarterbacks that are projected as that as well. So if you're in a 10-team draft, and let's say you're going, I don't know how many rounds on average you do, maybe 14 or something. I don't know. But Matt Stafford, you can basically get undrafted in a 10-team draft. That's insane.
Yeah, and unless you're, your brother is a Lions fan and really likes Matthew Stafford for being a Lion for so long, and then he just takes him out of nowhere. Not that would happen to me at all.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha. So that actually happened to you recently in your draft?
No, but my brother is a giant Lions fan and really likes him some Matthew Stafford. So
yeah, I here's the thing too, is if you pair, this is something cool. I think I will now my spidey senses are tingling on this. You could draft Puka Nacua way early. We're talking round 1. Round 1, you draft Puka Nacua. Round X of whatever the end of your draft is, you take Matt Stafford. That's terrifying. That is a terrifying combo every week that someone is going up against. And then they see that and they're sweating bullets, man. And here's the thing too, hopefully it doesn't happen. But let's say even that Matt Stafford goes down. I know Jimmy Garoppolo is on that depth chart, but I think the Georgia guy that they have as well is solid. I know he had some off the field alcoholism stuff that he went through, and hopefully all is well with that. But I've seen that Georgia backup play, and last year was technically his rookie season. That guy is really, really good too. Plus, we know it's Sean McVay. His offense is going to click. And the great thing is with preseason, we're going to see even more of him as well. So any quarterback for the Rams that's not Jimmy Garoppolo, or maybe even is Jimmy Garoppolo, you're going to be okay, man. You go Puka Nacua with a Rams quarterback, man, there's some good stuff going on. Yeah, Yeah, I'd go two of those three, to be honest. If it was Jimmy G, I might abandon ship.
You're talking about Stetson Bennett.
I like Stetson Bennett, man. I really do.
All I was listening to was there's a chance you're going to draft Jimmy Garoppolo.
There's no chance on that. I'm saying on your flyers, on your weekly pickups, if you lose a guy and you got to go to another quarterback, if you have to go from Rams quarterback to Rams quarterback, whoever it is, you might be all right.
So Jimmy Garoppolo, you heard it here first.
He is out there.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. I mean, I saw him play in person. It was one of the worst things I think I've ever seen. I think I saw in one game, I saw him, Brian Hoyer, and Aiden O'Connell play. And that was the worst quarterbacking I ever saw. Speaking
of worst quarterbacking, Seattle Seahawks, we got Geno Smith. That is called a, segue, something.
It is. And I really like the Seahawks as well.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't like anyone on this team.
Okay. This is definitely one of the best receiving cores all around in the NFL. Yeah. So that is highly regarded as well. Tyler Lockett has been a little banged up. DK Metcalf is playing better. Jackson Smith and Jigba is the guy who I really like. I rolled with him last season. He's been playing better. He can definitely do some things on offense, and he is in the slot. He is the guy that is being drafted basically right at the beginning of round 11 in a 10-team draft. And then again, too, like if you take him and you pair him with Geno Smith, who is also basically regarded as undraftable, you might be able to string something up in a given week.
I can't do it. Geno Smith, he had 20 touchdowns last year. He basically didn't really run. He had 150 yards all of last season in 15 games. Like he had 9 interceptions. Only 3,600 yards. A third of them went to DK Metcalf. He's the only person that I would touch if he fell far enough.
Okay. So, DK would basically be the beginning of round 5 in a 10-team draft.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Okay, that's fair.
There's not enough touchdowns to go around. And, I mean, if Geno's only throwing 20 touchdowns and, 5 or 6 to Lockett, 5 or 6 to Njigba or Smith and Jigba, maybe Walker catches a couple. Noah Fant's probably going to get one. Like, DK Metcalf's not like Amon-Ra St. Brown. You know what I mean? Like all the receptions go to him. So I just can't. Fifth round is too rich for me.
That's why I really like Jackson Smith and Jigba. I picked him up middle of last season, and he delivered. Any game that I needed a touchdown out of JSN, I got.
Wow. You only had 4 last year, so you got really lucky.
I got all of them. I literally got all of those touchdowns. The yardage wasn't too bad either. I only played him in matchups where it was incredibly favorable for a slot receiver. Yeah. I think that is how you play with JSN. And for a guy in round 11 that is going to be pushing for being the number 1 wide receiver on this team, honestly, like there were 3 phenomenal rookies last year in the NFL as wide receivers. He really is one of them. It's him, Jaden Reed, and Zay Flowers. And I like Jaden. Like I have Jaden Reed and JSN, even though numbers wise they may not match up. I still have them ahead of Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers is a head case. I think he's also a guy that has an off the field issue as well that's lingering over him. There's some stuff there that I don't like, and if I got to roll with a guy, I'm rolling with JSN in the slot. And if I have to, I can stream a Geno Smith for a week or so. And if they pull the trigger on him, there's Sam Howell as well. So you go to Sam Howell. Sam Howell could be the better quarterback on this team. and has way more of a cannon of an arm. So that's cool too. But the thing is, those guys to me are all about value. It's how much value can I get out of a Geno Smith, basically undraftable, and a Jackson Smith and Jigba in round 11. Tyler Lockett is actually not that far away either from JSN, and JSN's going ahead of Tyler Lockett. You can get Lockett in round 13 of a.
That's my guy then.
That's
13?
Insane too. Yeah. Here's the other thing that was going on too. The offensive coordinator for the Washington Huskies was hired to join their head coach at Alabama, and then he got this NFL job as the offensive coordinator. I've seen Geno Smith interviewed about this, and I know JSN is doing some really good things in training camp. Geno Smith seems so cool and poised. And not only that, Geno Smith has had countless offensive coordinators. He's had so many different playbooks to learn. And he seemed so comfortable and didn't want to really talk about it much. But his comfort level with this offense tells me that this is something that we haven't seen. And I think this offense is going to shock people. Plus, they have a defensive head coach. So this could be an iron sharpens iron thing. I think the Seattle team is going to be a playoff team in the NFC conference. And I think this West is going to carry a lot of teams into the playoffs as well.
Sure. I'm just fantasy-wise, Geno Smith might be a great guy, but no, I'm good.
It's tricky. Like, that's the cool thing is, like, I wasn't too keen about Seattle, and then I started seeing, like, the value of some of these guys, and I'm like, holy smokes, there might be some hidden things that on a certain week that if you tune it just right, I think it would work. I'm not saying every week, but there's something interesting about the Seahawks that you can't just ditch them. They're going to do some weird things, I think.
I'm not drafting anybody on Seattle. I'm just putting
That's fair. That's fair, man.
So, speaking of value and breaking the bank, what about San Francisco and Brock Purdy?
Yeah, Brock Purdy is really, really cool because you can get him in round 11. He's very middle.
What?
Yeah, you can get Brock Purdy round 11.
Oh, I already know who my quarterback is for this year.
Yeah, and he was a guy that I actually tried to get last season. I wanted to pair him with a Jared Goff, and I was scared of a bye week, and that's what did me in from that. But Brock Purdy is projected for over 4,000 yards throwing.
Yeah.
He's projected for over 30 combined touchdowns. He's pretty good with the ball. Doesn't really have too many interceptions, projected for 11. As long as he has his guys, he should be good. But here's the thing, too. When it comes to Brock Purdy, his vision is phenomenal. And I think this year he takes a step up. I think regardless of his targets, I think he's going to develop. And honestly, I think Brandon Ayuk is gone. I really do. I just don't think that kind of toxicity is healthy for this team. I think he's gone. I think Debo is not too far behind him. I think they ride George Kittle as long as they can before they replace him with whatever the next tight end after that is. And if that's the case, you need your young quarterback to evolve and grow. And I see Brock Purdy totally doing that. You got Ricky Pearsall, who's a really good up-and-coming rookie wideout. He's basically undrafted. And he is more than likely the guy that would step in for replacing Ayuk. Or if they go with a 3-receiver set, then Pearsall's on the team as well. So you could easily get for very low value from round 11 and beyond, get Purdy plus Pearsall. And who knows, maybe you crack it lucky and you get the number 1 overall pick and you take Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, McCaffrey's a no-brainer. 1,400 yards on the ground, dang near 600 yards receiving.
Yep.
A lot of touchdowns, 20 touchdowns. Ayuk's out there just lighting it up with 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns. Like, Brock Purdy, if you're getting him in the 11th round, like, pull the trigger in 9. Just saying. The guy was a top 5 with yards, touchdowns. He had the number 1 quarterback rating. Like, if you can get that dude 9, why not?
Yeah. I think him at number 9 is really, really insane. So I like that value there. I think it's absolutely top notch. Unless what are you thinking?
You have a friend who drafts all 49ers as soon as he can in like the first round, and you're just looking at him going, "Oh, yeah, my team was great." Do you know why? Because you got Christian McCaffrey with the number 1 pick. The rest of your team is trash. Sorry,
exactly. And I think I would be concerned about that, considering how good defensively this division is. We know the Rams play the Niners really tough. They really do. Their home games, they know their home games are essentially away games when they play the 49ers. But Arizona's got a nice defense. Seattle has a defensive-minded head coach. That is definitely 6 games in division that at least that are going to be tough sledding for anyone that's not Christian McCaffrey or Brock Purdy. So you got to be heads up on that. This team is aging, and you also got the Trent Williams stuff going on. So there are some major red flags, I think, with certain players on this team that
they've got some of the toughest games. I mean, I know they have the number 1 schedule being a top team in their division, but they have the Jets, which is a great defense, Kansas City, Dallas, even sneaky defenses like Tampa, Buffalo, Green Bay. Like, they're going to have games. Problems.
Yeah, I think this team absolutely has problems. I mean, we can bring it back to the betting angle too. I would bet against this team to win this division. The other thing too, I've actually heard that for the first time ever, I don't know how old this is, because to me this sounds like a pretty recent statistic, but there has never been a team that is going to have as many games where the opponent has more rest than themselves. So they are going into games. They are going into 8 NFL games, essentially half of their season, where their opponent is going to have more rest than them. And like you pointed out, their schedule is tough. So just taking a quick look at this too, right? The NFC West is playing cross divisions against the NFC North and the AFC East. Then they are playing the Buccaneers. Who won out of the East? Was it the Cowboys? The Cowboys were the number 1 team out East. So they are playing Dallas, like you said. And then they play 1 game against the AFC West number 1 team, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. That is a bruiser, plus the 6 games in division. I just don't see it. Like, with so many tough games and so little rest, I don't see it, man. I really think the rest of the teams in this division are out for blood, and they're more equipped for playing the long game. I think this goes better for Brock Purdy, but there's other pieces on this team that I'm concerned with.
Yeah, I'm all about Brock Purdy round 9, 10, 11.
I mean, even though I would take it, I think I would still be sweating bullets, and I would have to draft Elijah Mitchell. I think Christian McCaffrey is the number 1 overall pick, but based on everything that we've just gone through, I think for sure Christian McCaffrey is going to miss time somehow, some way, some injury flares up somehow. I hope it's not catastrophic, but I think this schedule is just so bruising. These defenses are so violent that I think every player on this team that is basically not Brock Purdy, and honestly, I don't think Brandon Ayuk will be on the team, so I'm not counting him. But the only guys who I feel like who will make it through an entire season healthy are going to be Brock Purdy and that rookie Ricky Pearsall. I think those are the only 2 guys on offense that you can really count on all year. I would be very concerned with the rest of the bunch. And I would even say, too, if you want to go last pick of your draft and take Elijah Mitchell, I definitely see the value there.
That's no debate.
That's no debate, man. That's that's everything we got, man. That's an hour show. We got our two divisions for the week. Next week we go to the AFC. We're gonna pick another two divisions. What divisions are you thinking? I mean, I got to save my Raiders to last. My Raiders, my AFC West, we got to go last. That's what I'm thinking.
So we could have done the North and that's hurtful on the inside here. It's just right.
Like, I know. Boom. There it is, man. Yeah, I know. I don't know. Maybe we could do the Raiders next week. I could see that. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do the. You know what? We will do the AFC West and
What divisions do we have left?
We have the entire American Football Conference.
Oh,
we have all of it. So we have completely finished up the NFC. Now we are crossing over to the AFC.
Oh, that's fine. Then let's do the East and South like we did on the other side.
You got it. East and South, and then we'll do North and West. I like it, man. That's pretty cool. East and South, that is who we are covering next week. 2 weeks from that, we finish up the AFC. And the week after that is actually before our fantasy draft, which will be pretty wild and cool. Then we're just going to do flat out everything crazy, fantasy tips, things we're seeing, trends we're seeing, go with that. But yeah, that's what I'm excited for. I think we knock out those. That's our schedule. We're set for the next 3 weeks. And then right around the corner, the NFL season kicks off, man. We're almost there.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Awesome. Well, I'm Steve Metrics. That's your boy,
DJ Triggs.
And together, that's No Debate.